Google Ads mistakes are expensive because most of them don't look obvious at first. Your account might be getting clicks, leads, and conversions, but still quietly wasting budget. In this video, I'll show you 9 of the most common mistakes that you need to avoid before it ruins your return on investment. I'm Jesse from New Era Marketers. We look after about $1 million a year in ad spend across service-based businesses that are looking to grow and scale from practical hands-on advice and campaign management. So the first mistake we're going to look at is campaign tracking misalignment or campaign tracking mistakes. So when we have a look at the account here, we can see that the cost per conversion is $36 at 200 conversions and spent about $8,500. Now, however, when you go down and you segment the account by the conversion action here, and you go down to the account, you can see that we both have HubSpot form submissions and HubSpot contact form submission, 155 and 111. Now, when we had a look at the back end, we noticed that it was double tracking and the conversions weren't 392, it was more 240. So when you go back and look at the cost per conversion at the top here, when we have a look at this account, we see that it spent $8,500, 237 conversions and $36 per conversion. Now, going down to one of the campaigns and going into segment by conversion action, which will tell you the conversion name, you can see that we have HubSpot form submission here and then HubSpot form submission here as well. Now, this campaign here was reporting 82 conversions at $7.42 a conversion. Now, that's crazy good for a company that sells machines in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, you can see that it's actually double tracked. It's not for 82 conversions, it's more 40 conversions, which means the cost per conversion wasn't $608, it was more $14. And this goes down to every single campaign that they have, right? If we go down to a more expensive one, you'll see that there's conversions here at 6, and then there's 2, and there's 3, and then there's 2, and then there's 11, and then there's 9. And some of these conversion actions go from 140 to 222, whereas the reality of it is it's not 140 for your conversion, it's more close to 300, or 22, it's more 40. Now, the problem with this, not only is it being incorrectly reported at a results level, but even worse, it's misguiding the campaign. So ensuring that the campaigns are optimizing for legitimate leads means that the conversion tracking needs to be correct. Without campaign tracking being correct in the first place, it's like trying to put a band-aid over a bullet wound. Every decision you make with incorrect data is going to further detriment the campaigns. The next problem we see is not adding negative keywords and not adding negative keywords in the correct way. So it's critical to the success of the campaign that when you add negatives, you add the root keyword to make it as clean as possible. So for example, if you're trying to exclude the brand term, you want to make sure you're excluding the root term itself. So if someone's searched up John's Locksmiths, you want to exclude John's. Right? You don't want to just neg the term itself because it's going to perform poorly overall because any other variation is going to show up. So as an example here, if we jump in the account, we'll have a look at this term itself. Now, How Frame Machine is a competitor, and when we add negative keywords, we commonly see people doing it like this. Now, this would ensure that yes, How Frame Machine doesn't show up, but it would also mean that How Frame Machine review or How Frame Machine website or any variation or even How Frame for whatever weird reason would show up. So what you want to do in this instance is you want to get as close to the root word itself. So adding a negative keyword for just Howick as a broad term is going to give you the best coverage to exclude any variations of Howick at all, right? Obviously make sure that this isn't a suburb or any relevance to your industry as well to make sure that you're making correct decisions. But the core thing here is adding negative terms and adding them in the correct way. So the next thing we see commonly is people having search networks enabled. So if you go into the settings of your campaign, if these two are clicked, make sure these are turned off. These networks are Google's billion odd websites that show out your ads in a waste of space format. Google is an intent marketing tool. You want to be in front of people when they're looking for you specifically, not just when they're looking at some game or on an app or any other website that's not intending them to buy. So the next mistake we see is letting keywords burn budget. If a keyword has spent over 2 times the average account, you want to pause it if it's not producing results. This is obviously assuming the traffic is clean and it's not an intent issue. As you want to look at the average ad group, so in this case 256, and you'll look at all of the cost per conversions by cost, because this is where it's going to be the highest leverage, and you want to make sure that nothing is going over. In this situation, keywords like this one and this one and this one are really close to getting 2 times the average, which would be 516. These are high on our radar for being removed because there are a significant amount of other keywords that are producing results at a lower price, right? So things like this one here, and this one here. So making sure that you're not letting keywords burn budget when they haven't been proven results is something you want to avoid at all costs. Now, the next mistake we see commonly is poor ad copy. Now, keeping it simple here, you want to address what you're selling, who you're trying to sell to, where if applicable. So if you're like a local service, you want to include that, and why they want to buy it from you, right? What unique services or selling points can you offer to make the ad enticing to the customer? Anything in addition to that is awesome, right? But you want to make it that they know who you are, what you do, where you're located, and why they want to buy from you in the first place. That alone is going to produce a way better click-through rate and better overall leads to your business. Now, the next problem we see commonly is small budgets relative to cost per click. Now, you want to have at minimum your monthly budget to be 300 times your average CPC. So if your cost per click is $10, you want to make sure you have a budget of at least $3,000 to ensure that you have the opportunities to win auctions efficiently. Now, if you're in a small country or if you're in a competitive niche, you might want to add 25 to 50% of a buffer for this. So a $3,000 budget would be more adequate at a $4,500 budget if you're in a highly competitive niche or in a small country. Now, the pro tip here is if you want to look at how many auctions you're losing because bids a factor, is look at the search impression share loss by rank. Now, if we have a look at this over here, you can see 2 metrics here: loss by budget, loss by rank. Now, loss by budget means that the account is burning budget too quickly during the day and you're not able to efficiently show your ads. The next column is by rank, which means that you don't have enough bidding power relative to your quality scores and your ad relevance, right? Now, making your website copy better, improving your keyword relevance to your ads is always going to help, but loss by rank is heavily influenced by bid because you simply don't have enough bidding power to get into that auction. So if you're finding that your search impression share loss by rank is significant and your loss by budget is low, that would be a key sign to say that you're losing by bid overall rather than daily budget. Whereas in this case, this customer could use a budget increase strongly and swiftly because they're losing on both. The next issue we see is match types. Now, a lot of customers are using match types being broad. So without the brackets, without the quotes here, it would be considered broad match. So in this scenario, you'd see here being broad. Now, 9 times out of 10, the search that the customer is making isn't relevant enough to the keyword and you end up getting poor results. Now, an easy way to check this is if you're on your keyword list and you come along here and you go segment by search term match types, you'll see that the conversions are assigned to either the phrase or exact version of the keyword. Now, 9 times out of 10, you'll see that it is a broad keyword, but most of the conversions are assigned to the phrase. So in this example here, we see that it's a phrase match keyword. It's gotten 4 conversions at 220, but one of those 4 is actually converted at the exact variation of 196. But if you want to check whether your broad keywords are actually producing the results that you think, or if it's just the phrase version of them, you want to make sure that you go into segmentation by search term, and you'll see that the results are probably aligned to phrase and exact. The next problem we see is focusing on top of the funnel keywords. Now, Google is where you get in front of customers based on what they're typing in. So if you want more leads, the best way is to focus on high intent terms that indicate the customer wants to buy from you. Stay away from things like research traffic of how to, do I need. Those types of keywords aren't going to get you the results you want. You want to stay around things like near me or indicative buying type of terms, right? Make sure that you're focusing on bottom of the funnel so that the clicks you get are from customers that are willing to buy. Now, last but not least, bidding strategies affect how much you bid per keyword, effectively how many auctions you enter, and what quality auctions you enter. So we commonly see two main problems. Either people are using conversion bidding without conversion tracking, or secondly, they are using something like max clicks well into their campaign when they've got conversion tracking. Now, the first thing you want to do is when you start a new campaign, you want to start on max clicks. This will ensure that you're paying for traffic, you're gathering the data, and you're continuing to refine the account. As you get more conversions, ideally around 30 to 40 in a month, you want to switch to max conversions after a month or two of stability. But this will ensure that when you use max conversions and you tell Google, hey, I want customers who are willing to buy from me, Google knows what searches convert, how much you pay to get in those auctions, and what auctions are more likely to bring you results than others. When you look at your account, you're using conversion strategies with appropriate volume of conversions and conversion tracking that is actually set up properly. If you want more practical breakdowns like this, I share guides on tracking, conversion structure, and what is actually hurting ad performance on a weekly basis. So make sure to subscribe. I hope you found this list super insightful, and there's a few in there that you can apply to your account today. Now, knowing these mistakes is one thing, finding them is another, but if you're finding you're still not getting the results you need, or implementing this is just too confusing, you can check out the first link in the description to get a free account audit from me and my team on exactly what needs to be done without any of the guesswork. And before you go, watch the #1 best Google Ads campaign setup. Strong account structure prevents many of these mistakes from happening in the first place.